All right, so this lesson is going to be on operations with functions, and it's going to seem kind of familiar, but we're really going to learn some new notation, and we're going to, I'm going to show you how to do some things on the calculator that you may or may not know. I'm not sure. So anyway, it is going to be a good idea to pay attention, and it's going to be a good thing to get your brain woken up after break. So you can add, subtract, multiply, and divide functions. So we have two functions on our first example. F is equal to 3x minus 7, and g is equal to 13 minus 2x. So we're going to find f of x plus g of x. So that means we're going to take f, 3x minus 7, and we're going to add 13 minus 2x to it. And so anytime you have addition, the parentheses do not matter. So all we're going to do is add our like terms. So 3x minus 2x. Those are like terms. You have 3x's, you subtract 2x's away from it. That's going to leave you with 1x, or just x. Right? Then we have negative 7 plus 13. So negative 7 plus 13 is going to be plus 6. So x plus 6 is the answer. Okay. I feel like we've done that before. This stuff next is new. It's just new notation. All right. So sometimes if you need to find the sum, it's written differently. It's written as f plus g of x, but it means the same thing that we just did. F of x plus g of x. All right. And then sometimes when they want you to find the difference, or they want you to subtract two functions, they're going to do f minus g of x. But again, all that means is f of x minus g of x. All right. For the multiplication or the product of two functions, sometimes they do f times g of x, but again, it's just f of x times g of x. All right, and then for the quotient, if they want you to divide two functions, they might write it like this, but it means take f and divide it by g. Now, we aren't going to actually do any division like we did before Christmas break today, like the synthetic or long division. We're just going to basically write them on top of each other and then be done. Now, one thing we are going to do is give the restrictions. And so on the division, the restriction, like I spelled that wrong, is that g of x can't be 0. So we'll have to do a little solving there, but it'll just take a second. Okay, so here we go. So we have three functions, f, g, and h. And so on this first one, I want us to do f plus g. So we're going to add f and g. So f is x squared minus 8x plus 4. I just copied it from right there, so that's what f is. And to that, I'm going to add g. G is 4x minus 3. Okay? And then I'm just going to add like terms. So with addition, parentheses don't matter. So just going to add like terms. So we have this x squared, but there's no other x squared, so it doesn't have a like term. So we're just going to bring it down. Right? Then we have negative 8x plus 4x. It's negative 4x. And then we have 4 minus 3, which is just 1. So that's the answer. Okay, so it's not too terrible. All right, let's look at another one. For number 2, we're going to take f, which was this one, and subtract h from it, which is this one. So I'm going to go ahead and just write them down. Now, for subtraction, the parentheses matter in the second set, right? So what I like to do whenever it's subtraction is just change it. So I would, anything that's after this, you're going to do the opposite. So we're going to change the minus to a plus, change the x to negative x, and change the 2 to negative 2. Right? So if you weren't paying attention, I'm going to do it again. Change the minus to a plus, the x to negative x, and the 2 to negative 2. Okay? Now we're going to add like terms again. Now there is no other x squared, so it stays x squared. And then we have negative 8 minus x. So negative 8x minus 1 more x. So it's like you owe someone $8, you borrow another $1 from them. Now you owe them 9, so that's negative 9x. All right, and then we have 4 minus 2 is 2. Positive 2 means plus 2. All right, let's do some multiplication. All right, on number 3, they want us to multiply h and g together. So h is x plus 2. G is 4x minus 3. Okay, so to multiply these together, we're going to do some distributing. So first, we're going to distribute x. So when you multiply x times 4x, you're going to get 4x squared. And then when you multiply x times negative 3, it's negative 3x. All right, then we're going to do the same thing with the 2. We're going to multiply 2 by 4x. It's going to be 8x. And then 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. Right? And then finally, we would combine our like terms. Negative 3x plus 8x is going to be 5x. So the 4x squared and this minus 6 just come down. You just combine those terms in the middle. Okay, on 4 is telling us to take f and divide it by h. You guys are going to love these. So all we do is we put f on the numerator and we put h in the denominator. You're done. Nothing else. Well, there's one other little thing. So it tells us to indicate any restrictions in the domain. So one thing that restricts the domain is dividing by 0. So this whole denominator cannot be 0. So we would just say x plus 2 cannot be 0. So then, this is the domain. So then x, we saw that we would subtract 2. X cannot be negative 2. Okay, let's look at 5. On 5, they ask us to take h and divide it by g. So h is x plus 2, g is 4x minus 3. So all I have to do is put h on top of g. And that's it. So don't forget about your domain. So that denominator, 4x minus 3, cannot be 0. So I would solve it by adding 3 and then dividing by 4. So x cannot be 3/4 should be your domain. All right. So on 6, they want us to take f and multiply it by g. So let's write that down. F is x squared minus 8x plus 4, and g is 4x minus 3. All right, so we will distribute the x squared. Actually, I don't want to do it that way. Let's do it. Whoops, I erased too much. Okay, let's do it the other way. The one that just has 2 terms, let's distribute those. So let's distribute 4x. So we're going to multiply 4x by x squared, and that's going to give us 4x cubed. Right? Then we'll multiply 4x by negative 8x, and that's going to be negative 32x squared. And then finally, 4x times 4 is 16x. Okay, then we'll distribute the minus 3. So negative 3 times x squared is negative 3x squared. Okay, negative 3 times negative 8x is plus 24x. And then negative 3 times 4 is minus 12. Okay, and then from there, you're going to combine your like terms. So the only x cubed we have is 4x cubed. But we have negative 32x squared minus 3x squared. So negative 32 of them minus 3 more of them is going to give you negative 35 of them. Right? And then 16x plus 24x is going to be 40x. And then the minus 12 is just going to come down. Okay, so the next 4, you're going to need a calculator for. Hopefully you already have one. If not, I do want you to practice this with me, so go grab one and you can pause the video if you need to. Okay, so these are a little different. So how are they different? So all of the ones we've done so far had an x in the parentheses. These have numbers. And so f plus g of negative 2 just means f of negative 2 plus g of negative 2. So what you can do, if you wanted to do this without a calculator, is just plug that negative 2 in, and then whatever you get, add those together. But there is an easier way. The easier way is to use the calculator. It's so smart about doing this. Let me get it pulled up real quick. Okay, so what we're going to do is that f function, we are going to put in y1 in the calculator, and g, we're going to put in y2. Okay. Okay, so what I want you guys to do is go to y equals, and then for y1, we're going to put in our f function, which is 2x squared minus x minus 12. right? And then for y2, we're going to put in g, which is x plus 7. Okay? And then we're going to quit out of that. So to quit, you do second mode. So go back to like the original home screen. Okay. And so what we're going to do, and I'll go back and write down the steps in a second. Well, I can do it while we're doing it. Sorry. What we're going to do is get these y variables. So to get the y variables, you're going to hit alpha and then trace. That gives you the y variables, alpha and then trace. So alpha is the green button, and then trace is right beside the graph button. Okay, so that gives us all these y's. Now, if you guys remember, y1 was f, so let's choose y1 for f, and then in parentheses, the number we're plugging in is -2. So do -2, and then plus g, if you guys remember, is in y2. So remember, it's alpha trace, and then choose y2 by hitting down, and then put -2 in parentheses. All right, so this means the same thing as f of -2 plus g of -2. Calculator just puts that as y1 and y2 instead of f and g. And then hit enter, and the answer is 3. And that's what we would get if we plugged -2 into f, -2 into g, and then added those together. It's just so much quicker to do in your calculator if you can remember how. Now, those ones we just did with x, you can't do those in the calculator. You have to be plugging in a number to be able to do it in the calculator. All right, so let's look at 8. So for 8, we're going to do f minus g of 8, which is going to be y1 of 8 minus y2 of 8. And we've already put f and g in the calculator, so we don't have to change that. So to get y1, remember we do alpha trace of the number 1, and this time we're putting in 8. And this time we're also subtracting. And then y2, all right, that's going to be 93. All right, let's look at the next one. Okay, so f was y1, remember, g is y2. So we're going to multiply them together, and we're going to plug in -1, but we're going to let the calculator do it. So for f, we're going to put y1, and then for g, we're going to put y2. All right, so it's alpha trace y1 of -1 times alpha trace y2 of -1. I'll leave that up there for a second if I'm going too fast. I feel like when I do the calculator in class, I go too fast a lot. So if you're confused about how to get y1, it's alpha and then trace. And the same thing for y2. Okay, so the last one we're going to do today is number 10. So this one is going to be alpha trace y1, 5 in parentheses divided by alpha trace y2, because it's g, and then 5 in parentheses. All right, so on your assignment today, I want you just do the front, so 1 through 16. And if you don't finish it today,